This is TypeScript, except you can't use any types, functions, variables, loops, and all you have is console.log. You slowly purchase features such as let with money. Oh yeah, you can also buy the battle pass for $299 a month. The game is called Subterfuge because it makes you believe something that is not true in order to achieve a goal. That goal being making you better at TypeScript. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you might remember that I have indeed used TypeScript before, but to be quite frank, I remember absolutely nothing about it, except for the funny thing I did. So hear me out. I could read the TypeScript documentation and learn it, but it's written by Microsoft. And I'm a Linux guy now, so I must oppose. And yes, that's a valid reason for me to spend hours developing essentially pointless software. But I think you're missing something. It's not pointless software, it's blazingly fast pointless software. Hell yeah baby, we're collecting Rust on this. The plan for the game is something like this. Your first task is to do a hello world program in TS, and if you succeed you will get $3. No, they are not real. And you unlock the shop where you can buy binary operations. The next task will be to print the result of some simple math problems, which will get you $5. You buy the needed upgrades and so on. There will also be optional upgrades such as types, because types make developers feel more comfortable. Now that we got that out of the way, let's code it. There will be a save file which the program will first load. It holds the feature name, cost, regex to detect it, and whether or not you've unlocked it. The Rust program takes as argument the TypeScript file and reads it. Then it goes through the save file and checks for features you haven't unlocked that you used. If it does detect one, it won't run your TypeScript code and instead print which features you should not have used. But if you pass the initial check, it should run your code using ban. Check the results, and if the code works, it should increase the money in your save file. Except it doesn't do that right now because I forgot about it. So we're creating the text user interface now, heck yeah. I tried a few TUI libraries for Rust, but I just didn't like their complexity. In fact, I hated them so much that I wanted to make my own TUI library. But I found an actually usable one called Console Engine. So I'm using Console Engine and trying to create a form which will let you choose which item to buy in the shop. And let me just show you. So you have all the items available here, and if I press on one, it should print the item name, and it doesn't. And this is the official example that they have on their page. The example doesn't work. I'm printing it, it does not work. I'm not going to inspect the internals of the library, so I'm just gonna write my own. Wake up baby, it's time to write a text user interface library. And get out and disappear, and then I can just rotate it. Yep. The shop is now finished, so now let's implement the most important part. Running and checking if your code returns the correct result to the problem you read. Essentially recreating lead code, except it's based and blazingly fast. So we're gonna approach this by storing in our save file the problems as an array. Each problem will have the entry index, money, name, description, and append, which is the TypeScript code to append to your code to check if it passes. If you run your main.ts file and it passes the initial feature checks, it will append what I just mentioned at the end of your file, write it to a temporary path, and run it via ban. Then it checks if what it prints matches how the function is supposed to behave. Putting all of that together for the first problem, it works. The first problem is writing the hello world program. And then you get the coins to buy the array feature, which will help you for the next problem. The Fibonacci sequence, which is a sequence where every number is the sum of the last two numbers. You cannot use loops, so you have to find a method to call something multiple times. Psst, recursive functions. After that I added a CLI command called current to check what your current problem is about. I also decided that you should get functions for free. They are pretty neat at innovating solutions for problems that are usually solved with loops. The small issue is that the program checks if your code printed the right thing by having a separate function in the Rust source code, but ideally we would want it all to be done inside the JSON file. The reason why is because it makes it easier for others to add more problems without needing to know Rust. Since the player is able to view and modify the source code anyway, there's really no need to implement some heavy anti-cheat. The Rust program checks your code against a script written in TypeScript which is present in the JSON file. Before running your code with ban, the program creates a copy of that script in a hidden folder. Then it injects some helper functions and the checker script from the save file. There are some quite stupid features, such as the fact that if you want to implement a new problem, you have to print underscore in order for the program to take the player's submission as correct. But it doesn't really affect the user experience unless you want to cheat. I also added a few quality of life changes which include your successful submission being moved to a .history folder and the current file being rewritten with a boilerplate for the next problem. The base is basically done. All we have to do now is add more problems and feature logs. But I'm quite bored for that, so let's implement some silly stuff. When you run the program without any command, it prints this beautiful banner which says that you've won some sort of coupon and tells you to click to claim it. But if you click, nothing happens. Quite odd. So you read the instructions and find the use command, which can be used to claim a coupon code. So you run it. And nothing happens. You inspect the code only to find out that there is no code inside it. Oh, also the coupon discount amount is randomized. Now, one of the most important features, the Battle Pass. That's right, there's a Battle Pass. After going through 3 iterations, I chose this design. The way I wanted the Battle Pass command to behave in the terminal is like the man command in Linux, which stands for manual. In it, your terminal kind of full screens with text, and you can use the arrow up and arrow down to move by one line. I really love the design for CLI tools, so I won't implement it because I got better things to do. The Battle Pass was so annoying to code, and that's entirely because of me, since I reversed the order of how the join Unicodes should be printed, made the index in the Battle Pass tiers be strings for some reason, and now I have to call .parse.unwrap every time, and I'm lazy to change it, so instead when I'm looping through the tiers, I create a dedicated index variable and manually increment it. That caused some weird things, such as the fact that increasing the index by 1, which should be the index of the next item, goes backwards, so now somewhere in the code I'm decreasing the index by 2 to get the next item. But anyway, here's the Battle Pass. Each problem will give you XP, and the XP formula is the problem bounty divided by 1.5. So a problem that gives you 300 bucks should make you level up 1 tier in the Battle Pass. You might notice that there's this little, not so obvious, almost invisible premium sign, and that's for the paid version of the Battle Pass, which will be posted on my Patreon. But since the game is open source anyway, the code is available in the source code in plain sight. Oh, but you could have used Stripe or PayPal API to make users shut up. Now, you might have seen the banner I've shown before in some shopping apps. In fact, so right that that's not the single thing I'm taking from there. There's now a 10% chance that when running your TypeScript code, you will be stopped for around 5 seconds to witness this spinning wheel of coupons. And if you're wondering, yes, they don't give anything at all. In other popular games, there's this concept of support a creator. It basically lets you support a creator by using their code, and they get around 5% of the sales made from the item shop. In Subterfuge, you can do the same, but it doesn't share the 5% cut with the creator you enter. In fact, any code works. In fact, the code you set isn't even saved. In fact, this is the whole code for it. Alright, let's get back to some gameplay aspect. Gathering all the problems took way too long. A huge thanks to those that have posted solutions on LibCode. I chose the problems that seemed the most fun, such as validating an API address, Roman numeral, Fibonacci, etc. To make the player feel less overwhelmed, I added a command called peek, which displays the problem set and very red. I also removed the closure features restriction and replaced it with a regex, since, spoiler alert, a few problems can be solved simply by using regex. I fixed the beta pass so that 5000 XP out of 200 doesn't happen anymore, and apparently you get way too much money now. I fixed the bug after playtesting the game, so I don't know if it makes you crazy rich or something. I hope it doesn't. If you want to contribute by adding problems, I made it very easy to do so. Each problem looks like this. You just have to check if the function the player wrote returns the right values. After balancing the amounts given to each problem to match features, the game was complete. I don't really know how to show gameplay of this, so if you wish to play, follow the GitHub link in the description. If for some reason you manage to complete the whole game without buying anything, and you don't just cheat by printing this special code or by using eval, I'm gonna put in the readme. A big thanks to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel. Well, I'm tired now, so I'ma go. See you next time.
Birds, 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 birds,